Today's topic is liberation now. So wonderful reading was there, how our lives should be. And that is a gradual path for our liberation. Though the topic is liberation now, we feel that is how can we be liberated now, this very moment. In fact, the discussion will come. The Advaita says, you are liberated this very moment. You are not in bondage. Only you think you are bound. By that knowledge you are liberated. Only you don't know. You move as a poor person, but in your very pocket there is $1 million. You don't know. Until you know you are poor. The moment you know, you are a rich man, millionaire. Until we know we are in bondage. The moment we know we are free, we are free. That is the way to have the liberation now, this very moment. Let's go into the topic seriously. Now, liberation, what actually is liberation? What is emancipation? What is salvation? What is mukti? What is moksha? That question often comes. The mukti or liberation or salvation is the salvation, freedom from samsara. Samsara is not just this world. We die from this world and we are liberated. No, we are not liberated at all. We just change this body and go to another ignorance. From one ignorance to another ignorance. Death is not liberation from samsara. Samsara, in fact, is the cycles of birth and death. Birth, growth, death, again birth, growth, death, and this goes on. If you ask, when this cycle started, as a soul, we are all full of knowledge, bliss, and existence. How this ignorance come to us? When we started feeling that I am a body, when we started feeling that I am bound, when I started feeling that I am born and I die, this all is false. It's a gimmick. But we feel this gimmick to be true and do not realize the truth. When this falsehood started, 4,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 1 billion years ago, there is no answer to this question. Let us not go when we started, but let us try to get rid of this delusion of samsara. Samsara, birth and death, cycle after cycle after cycle. It's like, that's why it's called samsara chakra. Never ending, it seems never ending, indefinite, it will end one day. Indefinite cycle of birth and death. Now to get rid of this delusive idea that I am born and I die, and to be free from this cycle of birth and death is the goal of human life. That is called attainment of knowledge, that is called God realization, that is called liberation, that is called emancipation. Freedom from birth and death. In the Semitic religions, we have the theory of eternal heaven. What happens? A man does good work, prays to God, is devoted, he dies, and he goes to eternal heaven. No more birth after that. That is also cessation of the cycle of birth and death, and that is also emancipation. Hindus believe that heaven is not permanent. People may go through their good works, charitable works, devoted works to heaven, but their merit which they earn in the world by working for a certain period of time has to end within certain period of time. And the heaven is also within the samsara, within the ignorance. It is not illumination. After we work here, this world, as a human being, we go to another world. This world is karma bhumi. We can use our intellect, our choices, and we can work good or bad. We have choices, and we know what we are doing, what is good and what is bad. It is karma bhumi. After when we die, after doing work for a certain period of time, then we go to bhoga bhumi. From the world of action to the world of experience. Bhoga bhumi may be two types. Experience of misery and experience of happiness. Experience of misery and suffering, greater suffering than we have in the world. If you go to that world, it's called naraka, hell. If you go to a pleasant land, swarga, the heaven. But that is also within the purview of Maya. That is also, we are not liberated, because we have to come back again. Kshine punne martyalokam vishanti. All your credit, yes, you have certain balance in bank, balance of your credit in bank. That you enjoy in heaven, it finishes, you come back to this world of action again. There is a chance again to work out your liberation. What about hell? There also you go, suffer, work out your merit or whatever is there, whatever you have earned to suffer, you suffer and then come back to the world for more action. Liberation is in fact waking up to the reality from the dream of this world vision. We are just dreaming. This world, samsara, I, this person, this is small, whatever we see, all this is a world vision. And this is a distorted vision of the reality. Reality is there. It is not unreal. But the vision is distorted. Wearing blue glasses in our eyes, we see all blue color. We don't know the real nature of this world. And we find there is suffering, there is misery, which is not fulfilled. Something comes up that I want this, I don't want that. Misery and little joy, greater misery. Like the hot plum, Sri Ramakrishna says, little sour taste and inside full of stone. And sour taste that you enjoy a little, it also gives pain, colic pain. When will we wake up from this dream of samsara into that bliss that the scriptures promise? That our nature is unsullied, unmixed joy, which is untouched by any suffering. When will we wake up to that state? Is there a chance for us? It doesn't seem that I can ever get rid of my idea of this ego. That I am this body, I am this male, I am this female, I have this knowledge, I look like this. Just ego, just wrong perception. But how to get rid of this? Will a day come when I will get rid of my wrong notion about myself and about the world, and I get to the reality, to the truth? The hope is it will come to every being. Every individual person is going to be liberated. Like we are sleeping and dreaming, and when our sleep will be completed, then we all wake up to the reality. But when is that complete? We don't know. Before that, how many births and deaths this cycle will have to go? We don't know. If we say we are fine, I am born, I work and I suffer, I enjoy, it's fine, I want another birth. Yes, you get birth. You don't have to run for liberation. It will come to you after we don't know how many lives. But there are cases when we sometimes wake up to the reality. And if we are tired of this dream of birth and death and this suffering and little joy, then we like to get rid of this samsara chakra. And how will I get that liberation, that freedom from this false vision of this world as I see it? What type of that desire should be there? They say, Dipta Shiravat, as if fire has caught on your head. And what you do then? You rush to a pond of water to somehow stop that fire, extinguish that fire. That is the only how you rush. If we have that type of wish to get rid of this samsara vision, then there is liberation now. If we have that yearning, liberation will come now. Sometimes comes by God's grace in a different way, how God blesses. Then we say, blessing in disguise. Sometimes we wake up from this samsara, which is so beautiful and sweet, but the greater sweetness is waiting in the reality that we don't realize. The sweetness of reality percolating a little bit, fragment, it gives little joy here. We say, oh, I'm so happy. But what is that happiness in that stand? We are not aware of that. And we are clinging to this joy, this world, which is more of misery and very little of happiness, and we are unaware of that. Sometimes, when we are dreaming, there is nightmare, we see something and we wake up. Some robber chasing, some tiger coming, and we wake up suddenly before our sleep is completed. Similarly, there can be wake up from this world. And what is that nightmare? There may be nightmare like a bereavement. You were attached to someone, that person passes away by the law of nature. Shocked so much, the world seems to be insipid, no joy in the world. I want to get to that reality. Then you turn your eyes, your attitudes away from this world and seeking things from this world, you go towards God. Or there may be the loss of a fortune. You had a lot of money, you thought it will give so much peace, $1 billion in bank, and stock market crashes. And then what to do? Then there are two ways. Either you earn more money or you turn towards God. If you are a lucky person, you will turn towards God. If you are still fool, you will try to earn more money and wait for next this fall of the stock market. And this is what happens. This is another blessing of God. We take everything that comes and we don't see the future and we are so much shocked and we say to God, God, why this to me? But we don't understand how much good the God is doing to us. Or there may be the suffering of a great injustice done to you. I can't understand. I never did this, but why this to me? Why so much injustice in this world of justified God? Then that shock may wake you up to the reality. There are cases like that. And sometimes, to a sensible heart, one sees a great witnessing of a catastrophe visited upon a large number of people. Nothing happened to you. No bereavement, no loss of fortune, no injustice, but you found suffering to a large number of people. The world seemed to be unreal for a few days. What happened to those persons who passed away? Where did they go? Great shock. And then you wake up to the reality. You try to attain what is reality in the world. That question comes to you. You want to find that answer. And it happened to Buddha. Buddha didn't suffer for himself, but he saw the suffering in the world. Then this thing came to his mind. The world seems to be so much full of suffering. If there is a way out, I have to find it out. And that led him to the waking up. And he woke up and became the awakened, the Buddha. Liberation is waking up of the soul out of its ignorance to its own glorious majesty. Soul is there already majestic, its presence. Just it is sleeping and hidden. Liberation is to find that soul, that our true nature, to find ourselves. Swami Ashwakananda writes it. He says it's getting away from self-forgetfulness. We are in a state of self-forgetfulness. We have forgotten ourselves, who we are. When we get rid of that self-forgetfulness, we are liberated. Liberation is he said, spiritual self-forgetfulness. It's the cessation of spiritual self-forgetfulness. Now this, when we are not liberated, when we are not free, we are in suffering. Bondage is suffering. No one can be happy if you are put in this house, in a room, confined to a room, and you are given all the comforts of life. Good dress, good food, and said you can meet person, but you cannot go out of this room. Can you ever be happy? You can never be happy. Happiness is in freedom. Happiness is not getting things. Happiness is in freedom. There is no happiness without freedom. There is no joy in slavery. Happiness is in freedom alone. Then Buddha said that the world, if you deny there is suffering in the world, it is false. There is suffering in the world. And there is a reason, there is a cause for this suffering. And the cause for your suffering is not outside yourself, it is within you. You are the creator of your suffering. And what is the cause of this suffering? The cause that we created and we suffer in this world, we are bound, we are not liberated. That cause, Buddha gave a wonderful one word, he called tanha in Pali, the language of his time. Tanha or desire is the cause of suffering. I want. That this want thing is the cause of suffering. Now this want is so much in us that it is we invite wants, and there is already a big list of wants that we already had invited and is clinging to us. That which is clinging is called samskara. It's already there. And that we invite more wants is called karma. So there is huge list of want. I want this. In this life we remember what I want. From previous life we have the list of wants which are unfulfilled, and till that list is there, it has to be fulfilled. To fulfill that, you have to go through birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. That has to be fulfilled. Till the list is there, it has to be completed. So if you have ever wanted to have some nice thing, a big palace house, be aware, you will get that. And for getting that, I don't know how many lives you will have to take care and how many suffering you have to do. The best thing to be happy is to erase that thing that I want a big palace house. Otherwise, you will get that, and in the process, you will have a great suffering. So get freedom from the want of having wants. That alone can give happiness. Now, Buddha's Four Noble Truths. So, it's called Chaturarja Satya. What are those? There is suffering. There is a cause for the suffering, which is tanha. And there is a possibility to end the suffering. This suffering can go. List however big we have from so many births, we can just burn that list of desires. There is possibility of getting rid of suffering. To get rid of suffering, what to do? That is the thing. Now let us see the cause of bondage. What causes bondage? This is desire. Holy Mother said, if you can free yourself from all desires, you will be liberated this very moment. If we could say, I have no desire, you are free. But we have so many desires. We want to have, if we don't want to become rich or palace or house or big car like that thing, but still we have so many desires. We want to live. We don't want death, that is also want. We want to be a healthy body. We want to live happily. All these wants are there, you see. Everything is want. I want to live, that itself is a want. If you can become free from want, I don't want anything, then there is liberation. There is nothing that I want. I don't want to die, I don't want to live. Nothing. It's not that I want to die now. That is also a want. So that want should not be there too. I don't want to die, I don't want to live, I don't want a healthy body, I don't want an unhealthy body. I want what nature gives me, what gods give me. I want to accept that as it comes. Disease comes, doctor comes, so everything is fine. Not that I have to get rid of, oh, I got cancer, I have to get rid of, what will happen, I will die. No, cancer comes, go to doctor, do chemo, do surgery. If body survives, survives. If body goes, goes. I have no desire to live. I have no desire to die. That's a great concept. This detachment from the desire to live. Jiji Visha. It is human beings' final desire. So many desires we have. The Jiji Visha is a very strong desire. Strongest desire in human being. Is clinging to this worldly life. Why it happens? Because we are ignorant. We think this, what we see is all. We are ignorant that there is eternal life. This Sri Krishna taught Arjuna in so many good languages that before birth, who were you? You were not manifested, you didn't have a body before birth. After birth, for a short time, you have this body and very short span of this thing called life. After you give up the body, then you are also unmanifested, you don't have body. But you never cease to be. You are always there. Why clinging to this life? There are better lives after you give up this life. No clinging, no sorrow, no great enjoyment. This life God has given, that is word, that is experience, Swami Vivekananda says. He says, life is not for enjoyment, life is not for suffering, life is for experience. We experience so many things in life. And be grateful to God for giving this life through which you are getting experience, and you call on Him, you don't forget Him. The purpose of life is to call on God, to manifest our divinity, to remember God. God realization is the aim of this life. There can be no other final aim. You may have many aims in life, but the ultimate aim of life is to realize our divine nature. Without that, we will never be satisfied. We will again, the list, big list, will again take birth. When we realize our divine nature, all the list, big bundle of list, is that burns. Chidyate hridaya granthi, vidyate hridaya granthi, chidyante sarva samsaya. Kshiyante jasya karmani, tasmin triste paravare. When we see the highest, all our karmas are burnt. Kshiyante, all they decay. Kshiyante jasya karmani. And vidyate hridaya granthi, all the knots of our heart, desires, they are all cut asunder. Chidyante sarva samsaya, all doubts. How much doubt we have in life? Whether that person really loves me, whether my job will be there, whether God exists. So many doubts. All doubts will go. You will not be in doubt that there is God. So when we see that, realize that ultimate truth, then all doubts will go. That's what the Upanishads say. Even this great idea of duty is a great bondage. I have to work for my family, I have to work in the office, I have to work my assigned duty. This idea of duty itself is a bondage. Swami Vivekananda's talk on duty is wonderful. You can read that. What is duty? And how much it is a bondage. If it is performed, we ourselves say, it is my duty to do that. Swami Jagananda says, we see in such a way, if there were no duty, I'll be happy. We are actually bound to do that work. Do we enjoy? Why so many people are so unhappy when Monday comes? Monday is not good. They're so sad, long face, they go office on Mondays. Because this duty, this bondage, we don't want to work, but you have to go to work. But there is a way. And what is final bondage? Seeing many is a bondage. This seeing variety is a bondage. Not able to see oneness lying through this variety is a bondage. And what will happen when we see many? If we die before the experience of oneness in this variety, mrityo samrityumapnoti yaiha naneva pashyati. Upanishad says, Vedanta says, if you see many in this world, you will go from death to death. Not from death to birth, it says. From death to death. Birth is very small. Birth we often like, but death we dislike. So it says, if you don't want death, if you want to get rid of death, if you want immortality, the one way is to seize the vision of many. Try to have the knowledge of one that permeates this variety. Can you have that? Then alone you can be free from death, the cycle of death to death. Now how to cut asunder this bondage and be liberated? It's very important, the discrimination and dispassion, viveka and vairagya. We need to understand the nature of the world. When we put ourselves in bondage of desires, what that desire is going to be? Why do I want that? This sharp thought. Is that really, will that give me joy? I had so many things that I wanted. They finally did not give ultimate joy to me. They came and they went. I thought that thing, if I get that thing, I'll be happy forever. The prince and the princess were married and they lived happily forever. Only in fairy tales. Nobody lives happily forever. There are so much of suffering and joy in this world. So realizing this, we have to understand when we say, I want this, then the desires come. So for that, discrimination, will that give joy? And then dispassion. No, that desire, that will not give joy. That thought has to inculcate in our mind. Viveka and vairagya has to develop. And how will this develop? Through our intellect. That intellect, through that intellect, Swami Sri Ramakrishna said, God can be seen through pure mind. Upanishads also say, Drishyate tu agraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshini. Very subtle is that vision. But that vision we can have through agraya buddhya, through the sharp front of our intellect. Very sharp intellect, discerning mind, we can see that truth. The truth is seen that way in the things of the world. And discern and curb your desires. That will be there. Another thing by which we can discriminate and earn dispassion is dosha darshanam. Holy Mother said, don't see faults. But in whom? Don't see faults in others. That means you see faults somewhere. Holy Mother says, try to see your own faults. And Gita also said, try to see faults. Dosha. Where? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. See faults, see dukkha, see dosha in janma and mrityu, jara and vyadhi. We know how painful they are. But when janma and birth is there, that will lead to jara if we live a full life. So when a person is born, a baby is born, are we able to see dukkha there? Do we see dukkha in our birth? Because it will lead to jara and pain and death. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha, dosha, darshanam. Everything in the world is beset with dukkha and dosha. Everything is faulty, everything is suffering. Gita says, not only Buddha. So, seeing that nothing, the world is not really a joyful place and it will give joy. Fragmentary joy, lot of pain. They say if you laugh too much, you will be weeping, crying next moment. And this in cycle, like birth and death, this happiness and suffering comes in cycle. When we laugh and we are happy, we must be aware that suffering will be there. That's how the world goes. So, reject both. Then what will happen? If you reject happiness, pleasure of the world, then what you gain from the world? If you can reject pleasure and suffering both, you will be in the bliss. In that peace which will not disturb you. You know everything fleeting. That's what it's called discrimination and dispassion. Everything in the world is fleeting, changing, temporary. Suffering is temporary, joy is temporary. The worldly joy, worldly suffering. Then you search for something permanent joy, which is in yourself, within yourself. I want to reach to that joy. That desire comes to know ourselves, my own reality, my own nature, and then we proceed towards that. Then how can get another bondage? Work and worship. We feel so tired to go to office, again Monday going to office. But that can be a thing of joy if we could convert that work into worship. Siddharanandaji in the retreat gave such a beautiful example of how we can divinize our work. Body, mind, intellect, and emotion. Feeling of presence of divinity, which is present everywhere in the temple, in the shrine, in our house. That divinity is present in our workplace. Just try to be aware with a discerning mind. Again, that sharp intellect is needed. Here, for whom do I work? Do I work for my boss to please him? No. I work to please my God. If I work sincerely, my Ishta will be happy, and purpose of my life is to please my Ishta, my most beloved being. And with his pleasure, with his joy, I will get everything that is to be gained. So, and then we can practice thought of underlying unity. We are so many here, but what is the basis of our, like waves and ocean? Try to think of that. We are the waves, and at our background, at our base, is the ocean. We all are made of same water. We look different. We are big and small. Some are intelligent, some are not. Some are different shape, some good looking, some ugly looking. But we all basically are water. And these waves, for the time being, waves subsides and we merge in the ocean. We should be aware of our nature of ocean. We are ocean, just being seen as the wave. Wave is not our real nature. That is the way we can find a unity in this variety. We all are one. Just how beautifully Swami Vivekananda's thing was read. That do you think you will be liberated by alone, yourself? All you are souls, every soul is your own soul. Try to have the liberation for all. Sri Krishna, that's why I said, the final is Mama Nusmara Yuddhacha. Go on working, but don't forget me. Don't forget God, don't forget your divine nature. They say behind the mind that works, that is engaged in the work, one professor had come and said, there is a blank space behind the mind. And that space, which is not engaged in work, is occupied with something else. So we don't really work with full 100% mind. And to achieve a success in the work, you need, if we could put 100%, that would be good, but it's humanly not possible. So what we need to do is, we need to put maximum effort in the work, but whatever portion of the mind is remaining idle or is distracted, try to fill that with God. Mamanusmara yuddhacha. If it was impossible to think of God and also work, Sri Krishna will not advise to Arjuna. Fight, remembering me. If I remember you, how will I put the arrow on the enemies? That is the technique. And that is possible. You sharpen the arrow, pull the bow, but remember me. Mamanusmara yuddhacha. And that is the final practice. It comes during our work, during our mingling with the people, when we see people, when we interact with people, sometimes angry, sometimes good. So many varieties of persons we interact, but in our background, in the space of the mind, behind our mind, should be God, or our divine nature, awareness of divinity, whatever you say. And to have this thing, remembering God always, we need to practice upasana, that is prayer, worship and meditation regularly. That is the this thought generator. Morning you come and sit in front of your shrine. You try to put the mind there and meditate little and worship. That will generate the power so that you remember God and do the battle of life. Finally, love all. Holy Mother said, make the whole world your own. That is very important. Make the whole world your own. No one is stranger. No one is alien. Whole world is your own. How does Vedanta say? You are the waves. You are one with everyone as ocean, as water. So always remember your spiritual nature and feel oneness with all. Vedanta, the Dvaita Vedanta is said, as I said in the beginning, you are already free. You just need to know that you are free. In that beautiful Nirvana Shatkam, if you remember, Nacha asangatam naiva mukti nameya. I don't want liberation. I am liberated. I don't want detachment. What can attach me? It is so pure, the soul, our nature is so pure, it cannot get attached to anything. The problem comes with ego. We forget who we are, we associate with something else, myself, with this mind, with this ego that I am, and then the problem comes. All this attachment, all this bondage is of the ego. So is ever free. Just to realize I am the ever free soul. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabha. That's what it said. Amrita Bindu Upanishad said, Mana eva manushyaram karanam bandha mokshayo. What makes us bound? What makes us free? It's only our mind. Nothing else. Only man is the root, mind is the root cause of our bondage and our liberation. Bandhaya vishaya shaktam muktam nirvishayam smritam. Holy Mother said, the moment you become desireless, you are free. Amrita Bindu Upanishad said, Vishaya Sakta Mana is Vada Bandha. When your mind is attached to the objects, full of desires, you are bound. Muktam nirvishayam smritam. And know that liberation is making mind free from attachment to the objects of the world. We should have the feeling, nothing belongs to me, I belong to none. Nothing. No one is dependent on me. No one. That is false notion. If it doesn't happen, who will see that happen? God sees everyone. We don't see. We are fortunate to be given the opportunity to associate with someone of God's human being, God's creation. That's what nothing belongs to me, I belong to none. Or, as we see in the choir, Mother belongs to me and I belong to Mother. The same thing. This more positive, more sweet, more acceptable. Mother belongs to me and I belong to Mother. Beautiful song, sometimes devotees sing here. Natha tumi sarvasya amar. You are all in all. Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. You are my all in all. Nothing is mine. Nothing else is mine. You alone are mine, my Lord. If we could have that feeling, we are liberated. We are free. We don't want anything. We want the... Then what happens after liberation? When we are liberated, what next? Holy Mother said, the liberated person doesn't get two horns. He looks like this, he works like this, he will go to office, he will work with the people. But his attitude will be different. People say something, he doesn't mind. You heap the praise on him, he is not elated, he is not overjoyed. He can take everything with equanimity, with calmness. Word cannot disturb such a person. You are liberated from the bondage of ego. You know who you are. Then you work, your smile, your peace that radiates. And you are not affected by anything that is done to you. No insult can touch you. You become Buddha, no? Then Ishavasya Sarvam. You feel the whole world is covered with God. There is God in everyone. Everyone, instead of seeing the waves, you start seeing water. What the waves is made of. The whole this dead matter world is realized as the spiritual world. It's not dead matter. It's not the bereft of spirit. It is full of spirit. Spirit seeming as the matter, as Prakriti. Brahman looks as Prakriti. It is Brahman and nothing else. No difference between Brahman and Prakriti. Brahman and Prakriti become one. As Thakur said, Brahma is Shakti, Shakti is Brahman. Then what they do? Live with undiminishing joy. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Always happy. In all situations, joyful. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Many different situations may come. Things may change. But they don't lose joy of their own nature. They have realized who they are. They have realized they are the source of happiness. That they don't forget. External things seem to change. Life is so uncertain. Things change. Life change. Body change. Today one is friend, tomorrow he becomes enemy. Today are my own people, he becomes something different. Who is to love me? Without him or her, I thought I cannot remain alive. After some time, we can't sit together. These things may come in life, but if we know we are real nature, we can sustain all these things, all this barging of the nature, we can sustain that. We become so strong, so powerful. Then such a person, realized soul, liberated soul, he becomes like a Buddha. Buddha, they had to suffer a lot in their life. He becomes like Vivekananda. So many sufferings come. How did they withstand? Our suffering is nothing. People once Swami, our Swamiji said, one Swamiji in the US, Swami Chetanananda, he said to his devotees, you talk of a problem, some devotee came and she was talking of the problem of her life, how much problem came. He said, you talk the problem for a few years you have. You know Holy Mother, she lived all her life with problems. She had so much of problem to face. How much of difficulties and this insult and injustice Swami Vivekananda had to face in life. What do we face? Nothing. And how they remain that way. Buddha, with the only success and worship Buddha. How much difficult time Buddha might have going against the whole set of the practice of religion. All this priestcraft, all ritualistic, he denied everything. He denied even the Vedas, which was the principal scripture of that time, living among the followers of the Vedas. How much difficulty he must have faced. But nothing could touch him. People used to abuse him in the filthiest language. He never was disturbed. When we are liberated, we become like Buddha, like a Christ, like around Krishna. All love for everyone, untouched by the miseries of the world. Because we know the things of the world are always changing. Let them change. I am one with the divine. I am a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna or God is giving to me in the suffering something good he is doing. I don't realize, that's why I suffer. But there is always a blessing in disguise. Let us have that faith in